It is said that he was the greatest warrior to ever come out of Africa, a military genius whose tactics were unmatched by his European counterparts, who defeated an invasion force 3 times larger than his own and laid the foundation for one of the largest empires in African history. This is the story of Sundiata Keita, founder of the Mali Empire. Our story begins in the 13th century in a small village called Niani, in what is today Mali. At this time, the region was known as the Kingdom of Kani and was ruled by a king named Nana Charu. Nana's older brother had been killed in battle against neighboring kingdoms, leaving him in charge of the army and next in line for the throne. But while he was away, someone else seized the throne for himself, a usurper named Sosima Barrett. And when Nana returned home, he found himself exiled from the kingdom he once called his own. But Nana wasn't ready to accept defeat. He rallied the people of his clan and gathered allies from neighboring villages, preparing to take back what was rightfully his by birthright. His plan involved a surprise attack. His army would wait until the full moon, when the guards at the palace would let their posts to celebrate. When the moon was at its brightest, Nana's forces would strike. It was a risky strategy, but it just might work. And so, under the light of the full moon, Nana's army descended upon the city, killing many of the guards and storming the palace. But to his horror, Susuma Binta had fled, escaping into the nearby forest with several loyalists. Nana pursued them, but they managed to escape, riding on the backs of elephants. Frustrated, Nana ordered his men to kill every elephant they came across. And after days of pursuing the fleeing war elephants through the forest, they finally reached a clearing. There they found something astonishing: hundreds upon hundreds of elephants, more than any Nana had ever seen before. It turned out that Susuma Binta had taken refuge in the camp of a legendary hunter named Dankaran Tumani, who just so happened to have the largest herd of war elephants in the region. Tumani was a feared warrior himself, leading an army of elephant riders who dominated the trade routes of the area. For years, he had fought against the kings of Kani, and he saw this as an opportunity to finally conquer the kingdom once and for all. As Nana and his men emerged from the forest, the war elephants trumpeted loudly, shaking the ground beneath their feet. Nana had stumbled right into a trap. He quickly regrouped his men, realizing that they were hopelessly outnumbered. The only way out was through a narrow passage between 2 rocky hills. And as soon as his army began to move, the war elephants charged. Nana's men fell victim to the trampling elephants, but the young prince was able to escape. He ran for his life, hiding in caves and sleeping in trees, always looking over his shoulder, expecting the elephant riders to find him and end his life. But after several months, the threat of the war elephants diminished, and the people of Kani slowly emerged from their homes, cautiously venturing out to see if the danger had passed. When they learned that the young prince was still alive, the people proclaimed him king, giving him the name Sundiata, meaning lion. And with the support of the people, Sundiata began to rally the neighboring clans, forming a coalition of villages that would become the foundation of the Mali Empire. Now, before we continue, let's get back to the video. Sundiata was determined to avenge his father and drive the usurpers out of the kingdom. So he assembled a massive army and marched on the capital, trapping the usurpers' forces between 2 rivers. Sundiata knew that the riverbanks would be too soft to support his heavy infantry. So he ordered his engineers to build large boats that would carry his troops across the water. Then he led his army on a surprise attack, routing the enemy and reclaiming the throne of Kani. From there, Sundiata continued to expand his empire, conquering neighboring kingdoms and subjugating the entire region. But despite his many military victories, Sundiata is best remembered as a shrewd politician and diplomat. You see, as he grew his empire, he didn't just conquer new lands, he brought them together through trade and cultural exchange. For example, when he conquered the kingdom of Wangara, he married the king's daughter, incorporating the Waka people into the Mali Empire. And when he met the king of the Songhai, although they were not related by blood, Sundiata took the king in like an older brother and eventually gave him the title of the second-in-command within the empire, a position known as the Mandan Karufa. This policy of inclusion helped to solidify the empire and prevent rebellions, because instead of ruling over a conquered people, Sundiata's generals were often rulers of their own people, working in cooperation with the central government. This system of decentralized rule helped to stabilize the empire even after Sundiata's death, allowing it to remain intact for decades longer. But perhaps the most important thing about Sundiata is the legacy he left behind. After his death, his son Mansa Musa would go on to lead the Mali Empire to even greater heights, making it one of the largest empires in history and establishing a dynasty that would last for over 100 years. So how did Sundiata accomplish all these great things? Well, part of it had to do with his childhood. You see, when Sundiata was born, an old blind hermit visited the newborn and prophesied that one day the child would become the greatest ruler in history or suffer from a terrible tragedy. The prophecy went as follows. If you are carried on the back of an antelope, you will be a great lord. But if you are carried on the back of an elephant, you will become a slave. As it turned out, Sundiata was carried on the back of an elephant during his childhood, which appeared to confirm the prophecy. But then something interesting happened. Instead of being cowed by the prediction, Sundiata decided to defy it. He changed his ways, learning everything he could about leadership and warfare, training his body and mind until he became the strongest and smartest man in the kingdom. And in doing so, he proved the old hermit wrong, becoming the greatest ruler the kingdom of Kani had ever seen. So what lessons can we learn from Sundiata's story? Well, first off, never let a setback get you down. Sure, Sundiata was carried on the back of an elephant as a child, but that didn't stop him from becoming the greatest warrior to ever come out of Africa. Secondly, always remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Sundiata could have easily given in to despair when he heard the prophecy, but instead he chose to prove it wrong. And finally, don't underestimate the power of education. Sundiata took the time to learn everything he could about leadership and warfare, which helped him to succeed where others had failed. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments below. We'll see you next time.